watch your step there, Court. So we're going to slowly place the casket on a set of rollers, and Mario will take over.
Now please place the casket on this first roller and gently walk with the casket forward.
Okay, piece of cake.
Gently.
Oh, I'm on.
Okay, and now just hold the casket forward. Everybody walk with it forward.
All right. Watch your hands. Hands and feet. Oh. Holy. Yeah. Oh.
Thank you so much.
Good job. Wow.
Okay, friends and family, we do have some water. Let's take a second just to catch our breath.
Yeah, let's catch our breath.
And we're going to gather over on this side.
At least I got exercise on the old Apple Watch, you know?
Friends, I invite you to join us on this side. Just be very careful around the
Water.
That's great. It's pipe collection. Oh, really? Thank you very much.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we are going to begin the service for John M. Goldberg. I ask once again, if you have any noise-making device, please turn it on the off or silent position. We do have a couple chairs available in front, and there is water, and it's absolutely appropriate on a day like today. Even though we are at a gravesite, it's totally appropriate to stay hydrated. Sorry? Absolutely. We're going to start, and I'm going to ask Kriya to come here for a second. Kriya, can you come here for a second? We begin our Jewish burial service with a very ancient custom before we were even Jewish. When we were just desert people, I guess. The story is told of Jacob hearing the news of the death of his son, and the first thing he does is he tears his garment. And the word that the Bible uses is kriya. But it's also another word, it means to announce. You know, right now we're in the era of the pandemic, COVID. We've all become familiar with a certain language. When we're on Zoom, we have to mute. And then we have to unmute. And then we have to mute again. So the first thing I'm going to ask everybody, even though I just literally asked you to put your phone on mute, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves. And we're going to unmute as a family for a second. We're going to give ourselves some space to speak. Maybe we have words, maybe we don't have words. Maybe there are going to be tears, maybe there'll be some chuckles. But in this moment, we're going to begin by sort of unmuting our hearts, unmuting ourselves, and we're going to do that with this symbol, symbol, that's how you pronounce it. Symbol sounds good too. Thank you, Rachel, for allowing me. You're going to place this over Rachel's heart, and we're going to, on her lapel, or the shirt is fine, whatever you feel, because it's a beautiful, beautiful suit, everybody.
She's told all of us.
And as we all know, and Kriya, now you could put one over your right and over Kitty's right.
Pretend to eat and figure out.
Right. This is for you. There's two reasons given, although I'm sure we could think of many more. But I always like to think of the fact that we live in this world, we have a body, we have clothes. Some of our clothes are nicer than others. But we know it's just the outside. On the inside, there's something more. We're a person. We have a heart, we have a soul, we have an identity. And the first thing we're going to remember is this is just the outside. John is still here with us. In so many ways, he's a part of us. And we're reminding ourselves when we tear this ribbon, it's just the outside. And the second idea is a little bit more meta. It's a little bit more spiritual, Kabbalistic, if you were. And that is, we know that the soul continues on. And even though a piece of cloth that's ripped can never be fully repaired, in our life, there's also something that's going to be sort of torn, but we're going to be able to carry it forward. So I ask you three if you could rise together. And I'm going to say the blessing. And after we say the blessing, give a moment to tear the ribbon as best you can, and to listen to that rip, and to let it sort of penetrate a little bit, and to be in that moment of brokenness, of tornness. I'll say the blessing, and then we'll recite together. The blessing is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam dayan ha'emet. You may be seated. The blessing is, blessed are you, Lord of God, King of truth. Emet is the Hebrew word for truth. It's Aleph, Mem, Taf. It's the middle. It's the first letter of the alphabet, middle letter, and the last letter. If truth doesn't encompass everything, it's not true. There's a lot we don't know. There's certainly a lot we'll never know. We put it off on the side. There's things we don't understand. And we begin with that sort of understanding of humility. We're limited. We're going to do the best we can this morning. But we know that at the end of the day, there's a lot more that will always have to be said, and a lot more that we have to do, and that's okay. It still does not excuse us from trying and doing our best to be here. Just to my left, everybody will notice this display. There were some posters as well, but we'll have to come, such as life and us and death. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're beginning this Jewish month. In a few short weeks, everybody knows, is the holiday of, okay, we just failed, Rosh Hashanah. I'll help you. The high holidays, it's okay, it's fine. Exactly. Thank you. And Rosh Hashanah, here's an easy one. The main symbol of the high holiday service is the shofar. See, we're getting it. The shofar, of course, as we know, thank you for helping sound effects, are welcome. The shofar is blown into symbol of the new year, just like a king is being inaugurated. But there's another idea that I think applies today to John. A lot of what we say throughout our life, a lot of the words that we use, maybe I'll say them, I have one intention, you'll hear it in another way. There's very few things in life that we know are real, are pure, are truthful, and that is our breathing. We can't always hear each other breathing, especially behind masks. Maybe it's a little bit more audible. Once a year, we stand as a people united. We blow the shofar. The shofar is literally like an amplifier for breathing. You can hear what's normally not heard. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the symbol, right, of John's life, he was a pipe aficionado. And in many of the Jewish literature, the shofar and the pipe are used as the same words. And there was actually an ancient custom going back to temple times that they used to blow pipes, shofar, different types of pipes, but at funerals. And one of the ideas was this teaching that words are somewhat fleeting. We don't always have the right language, but it's inside. We know what needs to be said. We know what we want to say. We know how we feel, and we just have to let it out. And that's the shofar. That's the pipe. And I think that was John in many ways. But I didn't really have the pleasure, to be honest. I didn't have the privilege. I only got to meet Rachel, Kriya, Kitty, Heidi. Hopefully we will spend more time. But instead of me talking about John, I'm like to call up some of the family members in just a minute to share their memories, to share their insights into who John was and what he meant to us all. I'm going to open with one reading as is traditional. We're going to start with the 23rd Psalm. And I ask you all to join me together. It's a team effort. We'll do it nice and slow because reading is hard. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For everything there is a season under the sun, famous words by King Solomon, a time to sow, a time to tear, a time to build, a time to destroy, a time to be silent, and a time to speak. Now's the time where we speak as best we can. And I invite John's daughter, Rachel, to come share a couple words with us.
Hello. So I believe we were taking bets on how long I was going to be able to last up here. I don't know if anyone has 3 seconds, but all right, you've in the back. Congratulations, you've won. So my dad was a great guy. Like he set so many examples, and something that my father taught me very early on is everything is an example. Might be a good example or a bad example, but it's always an example. And he always knew just the right things to say at the right time. It was a really, really rough road at the end. And we got a call, and he was taken to the emergency room. And the ER staff and Kitty and I, everybody perceived that this was going to be his last moments alive. And I asked everyone to give me, some space, some time with my dad. And he was conscious, but I mean, like, essentially his body just was tired. So I went to him and I told him how much I love him and how much he's taught me. And truthfully, we all were a little wild in our early days, I think, he certainly was. But he made such a great example, and I wanted him to be proud of me. Like that was my goal. And I told him how much I loved him and how much he meant to me, like the absolute world. And I leaned into him. I had my hand on his shoulder and I was holding his hand, and I said, "Is there anything you want to say to me? Is there anything you want me to know?" And he looked up at me and he said, "I just farted." And that's my dad. That's John Goldberg. And that told me 2 things right there. It told me, one, he obviously was gassy, so that was something. So, which is always good, because if you can do the gas, then the body must still be working enough. And number 2, he knew he wasn't going to die that night. He knew that wasn't it. And he wanted to add a little lightness, and smell maybe to the air. But that was him. Like, he knows what to say at the right time. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I was with my dad. We were in his car, his Volkswagen Scirocco. Because this was in his heyday back in the day. He was a wild man of the 80s, gold chain, parties, stuff. And what was interesting about that is that as a kid, I thought, man, when I grow up, I want to be just like my dad. And then when I was old enough to realize that's probably not healthy, he got clean and sober. And then that was the example, like, okay, so maybe I'll do a little of this for a while, but then I'm going to be just like my dad is now. So anyway, we were driving, and he had just bought me an Atari 1200, the very first one. It was very, very exciting. And for some reason, I proclaimed in that moment that when I grew up, I was going to marry Olivia Newton-John. As a matter of fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I just said, when I grow up, I'm going to marry Olivia Newton-John. And he said, "You can't." Yes, thank you. Thank you. Laughter in the front row. All right. He said, you can't. And I started getting really, really upset, little kid. And I didn't understand about this or that or gay or like, I just knew when I grew up, I wanted to marry Olivia Newton-John. That was as matter of fact as I was. That was who I was. And he said, you can't. And I started crying. And I said, why? Because she's a girl. And he pulls the car over and he looks at me and he goes, no, because she's like 25 years older than you are. Right now, let's play Atari. When you're old enough, marry someone like Olivia Newton-John. And I went, oh, okay, all right, let's play Atari. And because that's the right thing to say. There wasn't a situation, there wasn't a thing, it just knew the right thing to say. You know, and another thing that you guys have probably all heard my dad say is, you know, the trouble with trouble is it always starts out looking like fun. We must let that play through our heads, especially some of the friends that are here for me. Let's all keep that top of mind. Yeah, so much of who I am comes from him. I mean, even like I have some people that I work with. I talk about John Goldberg all the time, you know, something he taught me, which when I was a little bit sketchier in my 20s, he said, listen, 50% is showing up. If you just show up to work, you're doing better than 50% of everybody else. If you show up on time, you're better than 75%. He's like, that's all you need to do. And I went, okay, I think I could figure that out. And I did. So, you know, I mean, there's so much more to say, and I just miss him. But, you know, it's so nice to see all of you guys. And I know how much he loved each and every one of you, and how much you really meant to him and still mean to me. So don't forget me. I think you all have my number, because it's going to be a little rough for a minute, but, you know, we'll all get through it together. And as he would say, and this is how I'm going to leave you all, this too shall pass, you know, and it shall, and we'll be good. All right. See, I didn't cry. So I will be collecting payments over here for anybody. All right. That's it.
Love you, Rachel.
Call Kitty to speak.
Sure. Hi.
Fix that for you.
Thank you. I always you could give me a little stare.
You just stoop.
Thank you. Hey, you guys. I'm so grateful to see all of you. I'm Kitty. And when I thought about this, I knew I was just, I'm not a speaker, you know. So I wrote down about 4 words, so that's what you'll hear. And the first is just, this is John Goldberg. I mean, at least he's been in the present he was and still is today. I mean, all I can think of is how much love he had to give, and he shared it with so many people. And his service, I mean, he did a lot of service in this present life, and I really appreciate that, and I think there's so many people that appreciate that. Well, and then really high on the list, fun. I mean, he was the most fun. I mean, oh, I'm going to miss him so much. And but one of the things I got to say for all of you, and that he enjoyed a beautiful life, and it's because of all of you. And that's what I got to say today. I love you all. Thank you.
A little nervous right now. I'm actually going to do something that we're going to invite those of you who have something to say to step forward and share it with the family, with the friends. I only ask that you be mindful of the time. Try to keep it under 5 minutes. Keeping in mind that there's other opportunities to connect with Rachel, Korea, Kitty, and each other through the magic of in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, phone calls, a text, thank you. So, but it's also appropriate at this time, if anybody has something to say for, please, we invite you, we encourage you.
did great. Thank you. I just loved my Uncle John. Dory, Zoe, my father Michael, my mother Jody, his sister. We are a tough bunch. It is hard for us to agree on pretty much anyone to like, but John definitely was it. We absolutely adored him and all of his best qualities passed on to this one. I hope that he is smoking a pipe with Papa right now, and I hope Bubba is scolding both of them. I loved my uncle when I was younger. I thought for a while that he was this worldly man from England because when he would answer the phone, he would say, "Hello." And I love him, and like everyone here, he will be very missed.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Tonight, as is every week, is Shabbat. Shabbat is the Jewish special day. Every 7 days we have an ability to recharge, to connect, to family, to each other. And one of the interesting teachings that we have is at the start of Shabbat, people sing, Shabbat, Shalom, hey. And some people have this tradition of doing Shalom Aleichem, which means hello. Who are we saying hello to? So there's a tradition that we actually have, wherever we go, we have angels helping us. Through the week, we have our weekday angels. On Shabbat, we have even additional angels. And we say thank you to the angels of the people in our life who made a significant impact. Thank you for your help. Thank you to goodbye. Shalom, by the way, in Hebrew is hello. It's also goodbye. And then we turn to welcome the new week. The road in front of us, the road that's not so clear, and we say hello to the forces, to the angels who are going to come in front of us and help us carry to the next step. And right now, we're just hours away from Shabbat, and we turn to John, who we now know is a part of he's a part of that angel task force, sent to watch over us, sent to infuse our life, to help us in all the ways that he did, but also the ways he will be. And so we're going to say to him, Shalom Aleichem, goodbye, but also hello. Shabbat Shalom to John. I'm going to ask everybody, if you can, please rise. Only if you can.
No pressure. You wouldn't want that.
And I'm going to first... We're going to say it together in English, but first I'm going to do it in Hebrew. And everybody will say Amen following the prayer. Es nishmas John Goldberg, shalach le'olamo. Balarachamim, yastirei b'seser kenofav le'olamim. V'yitzro b'tzor chaim es nishmaso. Adonai yunach alaso v'yenuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'noimar. Amen. Together now in English. It's on the inside portion right here. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of John M. Goldberg, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may his repose be peace, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. At this time, I'm going to ask the gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, from the cemetery They're going to lower John's casket, and as we do, I'm going to make you aware of a very special tradition that we have, a hard tradition that we have. And with Rachel's help, also a new tradition that we have, which I really love. We know at this moment, as we lower John's casket into the ground, it's our final chance to do something very hard. We're a good-looking bunch, but we're not perfect. There are things that we say, I'm sure we all say the right things, but sometimes we could have said it better. And there's certainly things that we do which we probably could have done a little better. So we're going to turn and we're going to ask for forgiveness for all the things that we know we did wrong, clearly, but the things that we may have forgotten about, things that maybe John is holding on to. Please forgive us. At the very same time, as much as we love John, and he was in many ways amazing, there may be things that he could have done a little better. Not that we're going to think about it right now, but maybe he said something that was hurtful. And we're going to take a moment to say, John, it's all good. We love you. We forgive you. We're not holding anything back. And I think that's a beautiful segue to something that was very dear and special to John and who he was and who he stood for. He was 34 years sober, I think that was the number? 33. 34. And that's a struggle. And that's such a special thing. And that's such a source of pride that you could have. And so I think it's very befitting that if we open the portion of the pamphlet right here together, we're going to read the Serenity Prayer together, at least part of it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We're going to just take a moment of silence as we let the cemetery staff lower the casket and place the cover. After that, we're going to have a very special opportunity to do something. It's called a mitzvah. A mitzvah is Hebrew for, it's usually translated as a good deed, but it's really much more than that. It means a branch. Mitzvah is a connection. Many times in life, we do people favors, and we have, like, in the back of our mind, maybe they'll hit me back, maybe they'll give me something too. Very few times in life we could do something, and it's purely from the goodness of our heart. We're not asking for anything back. It's because we have love, and we want to give love. So the final act of kindness, what's known in Hebrew as the chesed shalamet, a final act of kindness, the true act of kindness, is going to be not to let anybody, random person, take part of it. It's going to be friends, it's going to be family, people who knew John, who loved John, to help lay him to rest by placing certain measures of earth on his casket. One second.
So, how is everyone?
Exactly what I was saying, we're now going to do. I'm going to invite you in just a minute. Kaylee's first going to bring me a little packet of earth from the land of Israel, from the Holy Land, from the Mount of Olives. It's a symbolic gesture. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in the world. It's certainly the oldest cemetery for the Jewish people. And I'm going to invite Rachel to be the first to place this special measure of earth onto the casket of her father. And sprinkle over Yeah, just a sprinkle.
Everybody needs this.
Well, no, we have more from the back. This is just this. This is the special one.
This is the whole sprinkle, or a little sprinkle from here.
Little sprinkle from
Just
there.
a little sprinkle, and then I give this back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to use all.
You don't want to use the whole thing in one go.
Holy. So. Just the right amount of sprinkle.
So the bearing process is a little tricky. In Jewish tradition, this isn't like another project in the backyard. This isn't a Home Depot exercise. This is bearing someone. So we're going to do things a little differently. You see behind me, there's a little mound of earth and a shovel. We're not going to take it the same way we would. We're not going to hand it to somebody. We're going to take it for ourselves. And some people have the tradition of actually inverting the shovel. Not a very good way to dig, but that's the point. It should be difficult. It's different. This isn't a usual mound of earth. This is something different. And some people have the custom of not just once, they take 3 measures of earth. The first time it could be an accident. Second time, coincidence. Third time is intentional. As hard as this might be, as difficult as this moment might be, we do it because we know this is what has to be done. This is the love that we want to give. So I'm going to invite you to form a small line just behind me, starting with the family, to place measures of earth into the open grave. We're going to move the roller. After everybody's had a chance to participate in the burial, we're going to meet back here and we'll say the concluding prayer of Kaddish. And then we will escort the family into this new era, which will begin with Shiva. And I will guide you in that process. Just as a reminder, please be very careful when approaching an open grave. Just be mindful of the stones. There's some headstones over here. Please be careful. Yeah, if you just walk on this way, we'll go straight.
Everybody's been here for me talking.
For those of you who didn't get a chance to sign in, there's a register book on this black table to my left. Just put your name, number. Just a way to get in touch. Thank you.
It's like Snuffleupagus. It's like Snuffleupagus. It's like a celebrity's ice, right? I know you would be from your fan. I never attended to the gold. But I was I don't know. Well, it would have been. And when I went to go, oh, it was I know she was very cute. I still know.
Give anybody water. Can I give anybody some water?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Anybody need any water? Water, anybody? We have one more.
Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. You know what I've done? I'm persistent.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this.
He's like so devastated.
You're the one. You're the chosen one.
He was in Jamaica. Like it apparently was so depressed he had like FMLA.
A little bit, yeah.
You better erase that.
Okay. All right, I will. I'll have them.
Like that's what should have been said.
I can have them. Okay, I can have them.
I believe Rachel put her job on the line. Tag that one.
It's being live streamed and recorded, yes.
Oh, it's being live streamed, so everyone's gonna hear what I just did.
So yeah, I mean, so people might. It depends on how well it picks up. Sometimes you're not able to.
You all right? Yeah. How about a towel?
So it picks up some audio. It's not gonna like pick up everybody's wording. Like, right now we're muted, so only the recorders are picking up.
Yeah. It's perfect. It's very authentic. Let's put it that way. I'm like, now, if there was a say, yeah, I was trying to get questions.
There, yeah. But you do a lot of transfer, right? So I do like actual, like I for the last 4 years, I go to the ski. I walk them, I cuddle them, I clean them, I go. And I do a little bit of transporting, but I stopped doing just for the last year or two. It's an advantage of going to forever a lot. They take in dogs and cats. A lot of my rescues take in behavior.
Thank you for asking.
You still have, is it locate? Zuki. Yeah. Yeah. Did you do DNA? I mean, in a horrible way. Did she do it before you rescue or just the dogs? You can't give it back to the rescue. I believe it will. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, I can see that. Oh, but I think something else thrown in there. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Oh, that's great. It's all worked out perfect. Anyways, thank you so much. No. Did they even have it? No. Yeah. I still get, that was fun. I still get Jewish vet emails. I've given money to the farm sanctuary that you turned me on to. So I always give every year around Thanksgiving. I always do a turkey, you know, name a turkey. But they're always the same. Yes, turkeys that they show. And I'm like, I want that turkey. Wait, I saw that turkey last year. That can't be the same turkey. No, I know, but they have like 5 of them that they just say, like, you can adopt a turkey. And I'm like, I think I've adopted this turkey now 4 years in a row. That jive turkey. What happened? I told her. But no joke. We really should.
Somebody just has to like initiate it, pick a date.
That's what we want. That's what we want. How long of a drive is it? An hour and a half?
But everybody else is here.
I am. I'm always around. Just saying. I can bring my dog. I can bring William. No, I'm going here.
Don't
After
you
my
see her? Do you ever
grandfather.
look at her Facebook page?
No, after my grandfather, William J. He's William J. Goldberg. Yeah, so let's who would you want in the group? Who do we, let's talk about who we're not inviting. Let's talk about who we're not inviting. Priya, so Priya comes with Rachel. Heidi. Us. How about that? How about that? It's COVID. Let's do the small. I don't think it's an issue. It's a place. It's just we just need to plan it ahead of time so that everybody can, you know, make their. I think she would for a day, like I would day. Yeah, sure. And just in terms of like doing things. So I mean, like there's a lot of like. I know. I think
Hello, once again, friends. If we could gather one last time.
yes.
To say the holy words of the Kaddish. The Kaddish, just a little background, Kaddish is from the Hebrew word holy. Friday night, family gets together, we take a cup of grape juice, and we make Kiddush. two people get married. That ceremony is called Kiddushin. The word, it means separate, it means sanctified, it means separate. The interesting thing about this prayer is there's no mention of God. There's also no mention of death. It's adjectives about life, adjectives about the greatness of God, the greatness of the world, but very little about death. And then the end is a prayer we're all familiar with, and that's Shalom, a prayer of peace. So the idea here is, and this is said at every funeral since time immemorial, that when it's all said and done, what we really need in our life is a sense of peace. The word for Shalem is also the word for complete, for whole. And even though today the irony is that we're a little bit not whole, we're a little bit incomplete, but that's still the prayer. The prayer is that as time goes on, together as a community, as a family, as a group of friends, we can make it whole again. We can make it peace. And that's why we say to somebody that we love, we say, Shalom Aleichem. My sense of wholeness, my sense of completeness, it's not just hello. My sense of wellness is with you. And the person responds back, you're not alone. My sense, Aleichem Shalom. Your sense of connectedness is what's allowing me to be at Shalom, to be at peace as well. So I'm going to ask you if we could rise once more, if you're able. It's getting harder each time, I know. This is the last time. And we're actually going to stay standing, so this is it. And if you have a folder, if not, I'll give you one. That's okay. It's on the back portion of the folder. It's in Hebrew letters. The actual language is written in Aramaic, most of it, transliterated for your reading ease. We'll say it together nice and slow. Yit kadal v'yit kadaz shemei rabbah. Bi'alma divrach kirutei v'amlich machutei. B'chayei chon u'b'yimei chon u'b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'b'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam le'olmei omaya. Yitparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithala v'yithalal. Shemei tikadusha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We're going to turn one last time to John's grave, and we're going to say, go in peace. Lech l'shalom. And may we be reunited in the coming one day. We're now going to turn to the family as we form a sort of a blanket, a circle of love. And we're going to offer these ancient words of custom, which is letting you know that you're not alone. We're here for you as a community as you enter now into this next period of your life. We call it Shiva, but it's really as long as you need. We're here for you. So we're going to say the bottom together. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch shara v'letzion v'Yerushalayim. May Hashem, Lord, comfort you among all those who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem, and may you know no more sorrow. Friends, this does conclude the service here at the grave. You may return to your cars. In a minute, the cemetery staff is going to come to where we're sitting and standing right now with some heavy machinery. So we're going to be breaking down the chairs and the equipment. So if you are going to stand, I'm just going to ask you to go a little towards that tree, keeping mindful of Mrs. Shapiro and Mr. Perlow. Is that okay? All right. Shabbat Shalom.